and welcome to a new video and trip report, and today we are going to the Montserrat monastery and mountain by different trains. Here on the map you can see our route. Today we are starting at the station Drassanes of the metro of Barcelona. This is the closest station to the cruise terminal, close to the World Trade Center where the shuttle buses are stopping. And now we're taking the metro line 3 to the station España. At España you can either walk underground or overground to the station of the FGC, the Ferrocarril de la Generalitat de Catalunya, which means Catalan Government Railways, and with the train of the FGC we are now going to Montserrat. You can buy a combi ticket online, which you need to change here at this office for the actual ticket, and then you can take the train of the FGC to class 213. It's the line heading to Manresa. Here we have seen the train of the class 213 arriving at the station España, and we're now taking a look at the interior of this train. In the beginning this train is working like an underground, so it's a quite comfortable underground, but then it's rather a regional train, and for a regional train it's not too comfortable. Of course there are no features in this train, also the seats are not that comfortable, but it's still okay for a journey of about 1 hour. So no problem at all. In the beginning, as I said, this train is like an underground, so we are stopping at multiple underground stations in the city center of Barcelona. Only after leaving the city center we are continuing to go overground, where you can finally see something. We're now following the river Llobregat with several railway lines. They are all going in the same valley. Our railway line, 2 regular railway lines and a high-speed line, until we are reaching the city of Martorell. Martorell, we are then leaving all the other railway lines and we are continuing on our own, heading in the direction of Manresa. And on the way there we are also having 2 stations close to Montserrat, and we will see both of them in this video. Here at the depot of the FGC we can see some more trains of the class 213, and also a so-called Stadler Sali, which is a locomotive mainly used for freight traffic. After leaving the station of Martorell, the railway line is soon getting more and more interesting. There's much more spectacular landscape. We're crossing the river Llobregat multiple times, and shortly before reaching the station where I'm leaving at Eri de Montserrat, we can finally see the incredible landscape around the Montserrat mountains. Extremely beautiful, and of course when we are leaving the train we will see even more of this incredible landscape. Here we are approaching the station of Eri de Montserrat, and we can take a look at my train leaving the station. Eri de Montserrat, that is aerial cable car, which we will now take to go up to the Montserrat monastery. It was built in 1930 by a German company and has been almost completely destroyed during a civil war from 1936, and then has been later reopened in 1940, and it's still using all those old components. Most of the technique is still from 1930 and 1940, so this whole cable car is celebrating its 95th birthday this year, and it's a quite impressive ride. We're going on a length of 1,357 meters, 544 meters up till we reach the Montserrat monastery. Some parts we are going very closely to the mountain, but you will always have a fantastic view. But it's a quite special feeling to travel in such an old cable car. 95-year-old cable car that also looks 95 years old. So of course I was happy when I arrived at the mountain safely. Of course it's not dangerous at all, it's a well-maintained cable car, but still it feels a bit strange to be in such an old cable car, so it was a very special and interesting experience. It's one of two ways to get up there, and on our way back down we're using the other possibility, which we can see here. I will tell you much more about this later on, but now let's take a look at the mountain and the monastery itself. Montserrat is very famous, not only for the monastery and the church, but also for its choir, and in general the building itself is quite famous and extremely beautiful, so it is worth a visit, not only for religious reasons, but also if you're interested in architecture, it's worth visiting the building. And also if you're interested in trains, of course it's interesting to go up there. That's the reason why I went there. And of course, when you're up there, you also have to take a look at the monastery itself. It's a very beautiful building, and if you have the combi ticket from Barcelona up to the Montserrat mountains, it's also included to go inside the church and the monastery, so why not using it? Here we can see the interior of the church. That is also extremely beautiful, so for sure it's worth going up there. But of course I didn't go here just for cultural reasons. Of course I'm mainly here for the railway lines, and there are some more railway lines. Up here we have two more railway lines. There are two funiculars up here. One of them was not in service, I think it's only operating on weekends. But the St. Joan funicular was in service. That's the more interesting one, because with a gradient of 65%, it is the steepest funicular in Spain. On a length of 503 meters, we're gaining another 248 meters. Quite impressive funicular. It's also included in the combi ticket that I bought, so of course I'm going to try it out. We're now going up 248 meters. It was opened in 1918 and has been refurbished in 1997. And up at St. Joan we have a few more monasteries, former monasteries. We have a fantastic area for hiking and some very nice viewpoints. So here you can see the extremely beautiful landscape. You can see it even better up here. So already the way up to the monastery of Montserrat is spectacular and you have a fantastic view there. But up here it's even more beautiful, so I can highly recommend going up here. As you can see, it's an unreal landscape. And we are now going to the Capella de Sant Joan, which is a small chapel here on top of the mountains. The way there is quite easy to walk, everybody can do it. It's a quite nice hike. Here we can see the chapel. Behind the chapel we have the first of three monasteries that we can see. We're now continuing to the monastery St. Joan, which gives the name to the funicular. Those monasteries are all abandoned, they're just ruins of them, but it's also very interesting to see. Also up here it's still rather easy to walk. Next one is the Ermita de Sant Onofre, monastery of Sant Onofre, which is completely built into the rocks. Also very impressive. Also up here it's still quite okay to walk, so most people should be able to do it. Now we have to get up these stairs, but still quite easy to get up here. So if you don't want to have a difficult hike, this is the point where you turn around and walk the same way back to the funicular. As soon as you're going through this small gate here, it's starting to get a bit more difficult, because we are now going up to the third monastery, the monastery of Santa Magdalena. As you can see, this is a very tiny gate. It's quite difficult to fit through, and then you're walking through the monastery of Sant Onofre, very close to the edge with a quite steep drop on the right side, only protected by a small wooden fence. Especially here at this part you can see how small the way is. only secured by this small fence here, so not the easiest way to walk if you're afraid of heights. And then you have to go up these stairs, and if you look closely you can see that those are not really stairs, these are just rocks, so it's quite difficult to get up there. It's quite exhausting, and of course you have to be very careful because you don't want to fall here, you don't want to fall down there, so that's quite difficult. And then also the path further up sometimes is not even recognizable as a path. It's quite difficult hike, quite exhausting. Sometimes I was even not sure if I'm still on the right path, but then I saw this sign up here, so it means I'm at the correct location. Here we have the ruins of the Santa Magdalena monastery, and from here I have to walk back down the same way for a short moment, and then I can turn left, and then I'm reaching the Jacob stairs. And this is where the path is getting even more difficult, not actually because of the way, it's just a long flight of stairs. They're even in a bit better condition than the stairs I was going up, but still you're in this small gorge here, and it's going down with stairs all the way. It's a quite long stair, and still you need to be very careful where you're stepping. And to be honest, I was a bit afraid, because if you are falling here you have a really big problem. So it was quite challenging hike, also not a good idea if you're afraid of heights. So it was a quite challenging hike. I was surprised by how challenging it was, because I was expecting it to be a quite easy hike. Took about 1 hour, and I'm usually walking quite fast, so you should plan a bit more than 1 hour to get there. And I would only recommend doing this tour if you're an experienced hiker. And in general, I would recommend taking a bit more time to inform yourself about the paths and the hikes up here than I did. I was just starting to hike, and then I was a bit surprised by how difficult the hike actually was. And now I'm back at the funicular going back down, and there's not that much time left. So when I arrived back at the Montserrat monastery, I only had a few minutes left to go into the souvenir store, and then I headed to the station of Montserrat to take the Cremallera de Montserrat back down. Cremallera de Montserrat means Montserrat Wreck Railway, and here we can see it arriving at the station at the monastery Montserrat. This railway line was opened in 1892, and then with the opening of the cable car in 1930 it got less and less passengers, and then there was a big accident in 1953 which led to the closure of the wreck railway in 1957, and then it was rebuilt and reopened in 2003 with modern Stadler GTW cars, and here we're leaving the station. The trains are of course not that comfortable. We have a track length of about 5 kilometers on a meter gauge, and it takes about 20 minutes to go down into the valley. Here we can see a city down in the valley, and that's actually our destination now. It takes us about 20 minutes to get there, so the trains are not that comfortable. Of course, they have no features like power sockets or comfortable seats, just regular seats for a short ride. They are perfectly fine, and also there are small tables, so everything you need for this short ride of 20 minutes is there, and you will spend all the time looking out of the window because the landscape is fantastic. It's very, very beautiful. Here we can see the oncoming train, which will pass us in a second. Here we can see it. Now went to the left side of the train just to see the oncoming train, but otherwise I'd highly recommend sitting on the right side if you're going down and on the left side if you're going up, because this is the side where you have all the fantastic views of the landscape. It's one of the most beautiful train rides I've ever taken, so highly recommendable taking this train ride with the Montserrat Wreck Railway. Here we are already close to the former end of the line at Monistrol Via, where we can also see a former train, but with the reopening of the line it has been lengthened to reach the station Monistrol de Montserrat, where you have a connection to the FGC back to Barcelona. Usually you also have a connection to a train to Barcelona here at Monistrol de Montserrat. Also in my case there was just a short waiting time of a few minutes and then the train was arriving. Here we can see the mountains in the background, that's where we just started, and here we can see the train of the FGC, which will now bring us back to Barcelona. Unfortunately this time it was only train with one car, so the train was pretty crowded, there was no seat available, so I was just filming in the beginning through the door the beautiful landscape, as we have now one more station until we're back at Eri de Montserrat, the station we are approaching here, and from now on we have already seen it on our way to Montserrat, so we are just taking one last look at the incredible mountains here, wonderful beautiful landscape, and then we're heading back to Barcelona. Closer you get to Barcelona, the less spectacular the landscape gets. And now we're back in Barcelona at España. Now we're going underground to the metro of Barcelona and then back to Drassanes, from where I took the shuttle bus back to my cruise ship. You've already seen that in the last video. So it was a very interesting excursion. You need to plan a lot of time for this. This takes up the whole day, so start as early as possible if you're in Barcelona by cruise ship. That's it for this video. I hope it was interesting for you. Here you can see when the next video will be uploaded and the name of the song. As always, I'd like to say thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to comment, like, subscribe or share the video link, and I hope to see you in my next video then.